In this video, I'm going to show you one of my favorite ways to prep a chicken breast, and it is the chicken roulade. Now here I have a boneless skinless chicken breast that has been sitting in a 5% brine for 24 hours, and that's going to make it more tender and more moist during the cooking process. And if you're unfamiliar with brining your meat, check out the episode show notes to this video, and I'll make sure to have a link there to more information on brining. Now here I'm using a plastic bag or a Ziploc bag, and I'm cutting down the edges, and this is going to be the barrier that I use when pounding out my chicken breast, and I prefer this over plastic wrap because it's a little bit more sturdy. Now I'm going to moisten the inside of the plastic bag, and I'm going to lay the chicken breast skin side down. Even though there's no skin, notice how the skin side is down on the board and the flesh side is up. And the moisture from the cold water is going to allow the bag to sort of slide around freely and not completely stick and get punctured by the hammer. Now here I'm using the textured side of a meat mallet or meat hammer to flatten out the thick portion of the breast. And notice how I'm making glancing blows. I'm not coming down directly on top. As soon as the mallet hits, it's glancing off to the side. Now once I've flattened the breast to sort of an even consistency, I'm going to flip the hammer over and use the flat side to go back and fine-tune the breast and try and make it as wide as possible and as thin as possible without actually tearing the meat and creating a hole in the breast. Once it's nice and flat and wide, I'm going to remove it from the bag and again lay it skin side down. And now it's time to stuff. Now here I'm going to use some thinly sliced provolone cheese, and this could be any stuffing that you like. A little prosciutto di Parma, which is always yummy no matter what situation, and then some caramelized onions. Next, I'm going to take it, and notice when I roll this up, I'm going to use my fingers and tuck in that edge, and I'm going to pull back on that edge to make it nice and tight, and I'm going to finish it seam side down. Now I'm going to remove the breast, I'm going to set it aside on a plate, seam side down again. I'm going to pull out a nice long sheet of plastic wrap, and it's important to have a nice long sheet because of the tension that we're going to apply during the rolling process. You're going to lay it nice and flat, seam side down towards almost the edge of the plastic wrap, and then fold the plastic wrap over, and then notice how I'm tucking it back in using my fingers, making sure I keep that seam together, and then you're simply just going to roll it up nice and even in the plastic wrap, and then you will cinch down the sides. Just use your fingers to flatten out, and then now it comes the time to actually cinch up the roulade itself. I'm going to do this by using a counter twisting motion. I'm going to twist one hand one way, one hand the other way while holding on to the ends of that plastic wrap, moving back and forth, and you'll notice that the plastic wrap will become more tight and the roulade will start to cinch in on itself. At this point, I'm going to form it by applying even more pressure by using downward pressure. See how I'm grabbing the ends of that plastic wrap and I'm applying pressure using my thumbs both downward while pulling out. And this is going to allow me to do a couple of quick motions of rolling that roulade forward, and notice how it's really pulled that roulade together, made it nice and tight and a cohesive piece of meat. Next I'm going to tie off one end, and you'll notice after when you cook this piece of meat that even though you pound it out really thin, this motion or this process of bringing it together and making it nice and tight in one cohesive unit will make it look like the breast never was pounded out. It will just be extremely tender and juicy, which is kind of a cool effect. Now notice since I tied off one side, I'm going to go back and make sure I cinch down the other side to make sure I have enough tension. And then again, I'm just going to pull off another knot. And then I'm going to cut off the ends of the plastic wrap just to make it look nicer. You know, attention to detail is always good. And then I'm simply going to poach in simmering water for about 18 minutes. And after they've poached for 18 minutes, I'm going to remove and chill to an ice water bath. At this point, you can store the roulades in your refrigerator for up to 5 days. And then you can reheat and serve, which we will demonstrate in a completed dish video later on. For more information on this technique, check out stellaculinary.com/KP11.